What's up, everyone? I'm Thunderthief, and today we're talking about Rise. This song, in the words of The Bled, are about the birth and the death. The first little sounds you begin to hear in this song are these light ocean waves, and that stays consistent as kind of the white noise underneath the entire track. I was in Mexico for my buddy's wedding, and it was such a beautiful ceremony, and I had such a great time. I have been immersed in learning Spanish, and I was really just loving getting to practice and seeing all the interactions that everyone was having by communicating just in their language and trying to find this mutual spot. And I was inspired to start writing this piano riff. And I was just taking the time to think about how beautiful it was that my buddy, who I met in college, was getting married, and him and I have been putting our own signature on our space in music, and he's an incredible engineer. Shout out Nick Noderf at Rusty Sun Audio. Congratulations on continuing a killer marriage. And this song just sort of sat in this loop for a minute as I was making other songs and going through the phases of life that were befalling me. And then I had the opportunity to participate in an ayahuasca ceremony, and that was transcendent. I'm so happy that I had that experience. The thing about that trip was I had gone in there very intentionally with trying to be at peace with all the chaos happening in my life. I'd moved back from Los Angeles a year or two before, and my mom had been diagnosed with cancer, and our family business was going well, but definitely going in this transition that it was hard to manage. Just illness in family business, and all of that together is hard. And at that time as well, myself as an artist, it's always been a struggle because as a bass player, I've always tied into everyone else, and at times been admonished for the level of noise that I'm making, but it's the energy, I'm just this passionate person, and it's often interpreted as aggressive, and that's a frame of mind sort of thing that I got to work on the pitch and they got to work on the reaction. Anyway, this ceremony, we were in a house in Boulder, Colorado that was beautifully painted, had every sort of delicious fruit and vegetable and healthy food combination, these beautiful murals on the walls, very comfortable. It was wonderful. And the first night I went in there, I had this really hard, dark experience where throughout the entire time I was just crawling and walking through this cold stone tunnel, and it felt like I was in the belly of this stone snake, almost like an onyx from Pokemon. And I was just walking through this thing, trudging. In ayahuasca, you throw up, so I was throwing up on occasion, having these really deep, just visceral hurls that I was just crawling through this thing. And by the end of the night, I began to see this light, and I came out of it, and I stood up, and I was done with that night. I had just taken that whole journey, and all of the weight that I had been carrying with just my family and the responsibility that I have just in the things that I care about, it had gone. Because I had learned that, like, regardless of, like, the circumstances that are thrust upon you, like, your choice to deal with them happens regardless of whether or not you want to carry the weight of that whole circumstance. It doesn't make you a lesser person. It makes you more focused on how to move forward. And I spent the evening listening to comedy, and Moshe Kasher in particularly. I think that's when I really like connected with that dude and his art. And in the morning, I took some time to myself and went for a long walk around Boulder, which is just an incredibly beautiful place, and just really thought about everything that had gone on. And when night 2 came along, I was just stoked for whatever was about to come. And I remember I was sitting there in this circle, which is how they did every night. Like, you just sat in this circle, and it's funny, like pre-COVID, that felt so natural. That it's interesting. We'll see how long it takes for that to come back. Anyway, I was sitting there with my buddy Tony, and him and I drank and sat back, and we did not move for the entire time that we were experiencing this trip. I didn't throw up. I didn't do anything. He didn't either. We were these just pillars. And in that night, the trip that I was experiencing was this just unbelievable, kind of cartoonish world. Mountains, trees, water, birds, everything that like the mountains of Colorado can supply through an animated hand. And I sat there with every aspect of myself, the different personalities, the different personifications of just the characteristics of who I am as a person. And we all had our chance to like talk and decide, okay, how are we going to go on from here? And all of us talked about it. And at the end, the ones who everyone decided should continue got on top of this table, and we just like ascended up outside of everything and just blasted off into the sky. We got closer to this light, and I don't know if you guys have played Super Smash Brothers, some of the earlier ones. There's the hand that's like the last character that you have to battle, and that hand just came up and just like gave us a high five, and that was it. That was the trip. And I popped up, and at the same time, like, it all just made so much sense. It was just like, oh, okay, I know exactly where I'm going from here. This is perfect. And I woke up that next morning really early and went for another walk and just thought about the whole night again. And I just had this surge of noise just like brewing inside of me. And I left the ceremony. They had a third day that I was supposed to do, but I knew immediately that I just needed to go and get this noise out of me and just spend the day translating. And so I came home and wrote like the rest of this song within like an hour. It just felt so good to have something come together and just kind of be done so completely. Like, the special thing about this song to me is how prevalent it was in my acceptance of the situation that like my mom was going to die and I was going to have to live after that and be more of myself than I ever had been, because now I had to be myself for her too. And so after I got this song wrapped up instrumentally, I sent it off to April Henry. And this was the first song that her and I worked on together for this album. And I told her about my trip, and I just told her about everything that I was doing. Like, she's so awesome. I haven't talked to her in a minute because of all this COVID stuff, but every time I listen to anything we're doing, to anything that she is on, I think about her. April Henry, shout out to you. I hope you're doing well out there in Los Angeles. And she just sent me back this demo of her initial pass of some stuff, and it was awesome. It made so much sense, and it went along with everything that I was feeling. And one of the things that I love about April is that she will listen to how you're feeling, and she will translate that and like put that into her own words. She's such a great writer, and it's such a pleasure to get to work with people like that who can be that emotive just off the trigger. And her and I recorded a podcast for this before, and I have since lost it. I had a computer go bad and lost some files irresponsibly, which is why I'm recording some of these again and so late. But I like it because I'm beginning to appreciate the art of podcasting and kind of just getting things off of your chest. And I keep claiming that this music is my way of communicating, and it is. Like, it's as much emotion and feeling as I can stand to put out outside of me. And I'm very thankful for anyone who listens to this. And I'm very thankful for anyone who listens to my album. And despite all this crazy shit, the chaos of today, and I kind of think it's chaotic every day, but more now that people can see, we will rise and be better than we ever have. I truly believe that. And this is all just growing pains. So thank you for listening. Here's Rise.
I know all about excuses. This ain't the time to do it. I feel the rising tide. It's not right this time. There was so much shame that you could not relay. I understand, but everything you gave didn't go to waste. It's in my hand. I'm finding that I'm changing in ways I'm rearranging because of your love. I know that I have made so many mistakes, but I'm trying. I will rise again, try Inside my heart's exploding with every kind of fear. Still I'm rising every morning like it's been 100 years.